I can't even imagine the amount of NFTs that are going to be available and the rarities and like all this kind of inventory sort. Like how are you guys going to even take inventory on so many different items, and how does that even work?
Yeah, yeah, we understand, and we understand that it can get cluttered. What makes it simple is that we have a lot of different rarities and categories you can sort by. So as far as like the categories for NFTs, there's only like six or seven, whether it's, armor plates, swords, shields, helmets. There's not that many of those. So you'll be able to select what category you want in the marketplace. And so that will eliminate a lot of the clutter, and there's a lot of different, there's only like five or six rarity differences. So it can get confusing, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with Parallel. They seem to be doing a great job of sorting with rarities and such.
Gotcha. So you guys must have a very deep tokenomic expert to make sure that the ecosystem balances out and that the true value of the NFT actually surfaces and whatnot, right? Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. We put a lot of thought into being able to deliver to the highest of extent and make sure that the game is never pay to win.
What's the timeline looking like? I know you guys are at early access right now. And by the way, what does early access mean? Like what does it come with? And yeah.
Early access just started a couple days ago, and we have four aspects. So we have the gold, silver, and jade ruby passes. Um, and ruby passes is what we may or may not be giving away to listeners who stay around to the end. Just a little side note. But that's our way of sequencing people into the game. It's a 10-week period, and it's kind of our way of making sure the servers don't crash. So, at the end of the 10 weeks, we open the gates up to the public. The stats and the leveling does get wiped out when the public release starts, but the NFTs you collect do not. And it's important to mention that there's a lot of incentives that go with owning an early access pass. Like the gold pass right now is, I think, going for 2 ETH on OpenSea. The drop rate for NFTs with the gold pass is much higher than it will be for public release. So there's a way better chance that you can find rare NFTs in the game right now.
I just had hopefully it's not wrong form for this, a specific question about the pocket watches. It sounds like there's so many different options for how you can specialize in the game. I was wondering, it seems to me like you're able to, even if a guy wanted to, say, for example, specialize in just upgrading these pocket watches. So is this something you could upgrade and then sell afterwards and then just potentially keep doing this?
Not quite. So the pocket watches, you can get all four of the pocket watches within about the first 2 minutes of the game. But higher tiers of pocket watches have more gear slots. You can only get access to those pocket watches later on
Oh, okay.
as you level up those initial pocket watches. So it kind of forces you to keep kind of going back, resetting, restarting your playing, and
Right.
then leveling up the pocket watches. Now those gear slots, like those pocket watches come with all the equipment, but as you level up, think of it like you have to earn the right to use the equipment that comes inside those pocket watches. Right
Okay.
now, they're not NFTs that you can sell.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and part of it is we thought about that, but then it turns into a pay to win model,
Right. That's
and that,
that's what I was thinking, and it didn't sound right. I
yeah,
just wanted to clarify.
yeah. But what it does, pretty effectively is keep advanced players coming back into the game and then
No,
intermingling with newer players too.
for
So
sure.
that's one of the reasons why we went for it.
I get that, and I think that's an awesome feature. Thanks a lot, guys.
I'm coming from the perspective of a guild owner, so I'm actually curious what's Big Time's perspective on guilds in their game and how they expect them to kind of perform and facilitate communities.
Guilds are the nature of the beast with gaming, and so if there's kind of any gaming enthusiasts out here, it's the nature of the environment. We had a lot of guilds or a few guilds get involved with Big Time very early on, like Avocado, OpenDAO. Um,
Sorry, Matt. Matt, I'm
yes,
sorry to apologize to interject here. For those that are not really familiar with gaming and guilds, can you give us like a 1-2 sentence of what is a guild?
guilds. The best way I can summarize guilds are they compile money to buy assets inside of blockchain games, and then they work with players to share those assets. That's how they came about in other pay to earn games. They're very different, or excuse me, they're quite a bit different inside of Big Time. Big Time is not a play to earn game, it's a play and earn. So quite a bit different that way. Because in other blockchain type games, for example, let's just say Axie Infinity, it was expensive to play. An Axie off the bat could cost you like $1,000. And that's prohibitively expensive for a lot of players. And guilds went out, bought a whole bunch of Axies, and they would essentially rent them out to people who couldn't afford it. And those people would then use those Axies, play Axie Infinity, get tokens, level them up, and then those guilds would then take those Axies and all those tokens and sell them. So it's a way of making money. Right off the bat, things are a little bit different in Big Time because it is a free-to-play game. So off the bat, like anybody can play, but what's a little bit different in Big Time is our land NFT, which we call Space, does cost money. And if you want to level up NFTs, then you need to have space, and you need to have a couple other NFTs to upgrade them. So how do guilds inside of Big Time work? Well, there's a couple things that they could. We haven't released all of our guild mechanics yet and how we're going to permission assets. Those things kind of internally are pretty developed, but we're going through final testing before we release all that information. But most of the way that guilds have been involved is by acquiring space. And when they acquire space, there will be a permissioning asset or capability for them to give that out to their scholars, who then can collect NFTs inside the game and the token. Because unless you have space, you can't collect that in-game token. You can play at the highest levels, but you can't collect that token. But for everybody else who's not as familiar with guilds, they started off as a way to get players into blockchain games if they couldn't afford it.
And I have another question. Are you guys planning in making a art contest?
Ooh, I like that idea. We do have a variety of art contests going on. If you are looking for a job at Big Time and you want to be a graphic artist, check out bigtime.gg/jobs. We are actively hiring a bunch of artists right now, so go check it out. And that goes for a bunch of people on this AMA. If you're artistic, if you're a game developer, if you have other experience inside of Web3, go check out our jobs listings. They're pretty cool. And we're hiring like crazy right now. We're growing a lot, and we have a lot of ambitions to expand.
So my question is regarding to your latest post in Twitter, the traveling to different timeshares. I was really curious about that. Will Big Time have like endless side quests? Will there be daily quests and weekly quests, or will the storyline be like super long because I don't want the game to have a very quick story?
Oh man, you are speaking to my heart here. All right, so there's a bunch of ways that this expands. First of all, we've got procedurally generated dungeons. For people who haven't seen the game, there's multiple worlds, which we call timeshares, and then when you want to battle through and play enemy, you drop into these things called dungeons. If you've seen Rick and Morty, it's basically like they call up a portal and that's how you drop into a dungeon. Each one of those dungeons is procedurally generated, which means that the loot, the enemy, some of the settings changes a little bit each time. So it's right off the bat, right? Like you can play through the same dungeon multiple times, it's going to look different each time. You've only seen one of the worlds from the live stream of the early access launch. It's called Time's End. By general release, I think we're going to have 5 more worlds. So you got right off the bat 5 times the amount of gameplay. And then additionally, our developers have already either built or developed 5 years worth of releases for the game. So we're going to keep expanding. So when somebody gets involved, they don't just have Big Time as a static environment where they can play through all of it. They can look forward to years and years of expansions and the story time. As of right now, as an MMORPG, there is no end to the game. You can keep playing and keep leveling up. And then we've built in those in-game mechanics so that you have to keep playing and you can keep leveling up and keep finding new parts of the game to enjoy.
For the quest rewards, is there a possibility that you'll be rewarded with NFTs?
Oh yeah, a lot of those quests are going to be rewarded for NFTs. I think we had a quest even before the game launch on our Discord where we were giving away certain types of NFTs to include some of those early access passes. But those quests we plan to keep doing them and to keep coming up with creative ways for users to keep playing too.
What's up, Matt? It's good to talk to you again. I just had just one little question. So, being pretty heavily invested in this game, I put a lot of money into it. I kind of have I just kind of want to criticize the game a little bit from just watching it on Twitch. I feel like the mechanics are pretty choppy when it comes to like fighting the bosses and the little creatures. Do you guys have any plans to update those mechanics? I mean, like comparing the game to like Lost Ark or Diablo and stuff like that. I just feel like it could be so much better. So, do you guys have any plans on updating the mechanics of like the battles and the fighting? I don't know. It just seems choppy and kind of boring, honestly.
Interesting take. So there's a couple ways. There is a balance between high level gamers and your average users, and you have to acknowledge that not everybody out there has a multi-thousand-dollar gaming PC, and you have to kind of split the difference. It's for a larger metaphor, it's almost like criticizing mobile games for not having the same amount of gameplay as a console. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but that's the balance that we had to strike here, and that's what we went for. Can the artwork be more detailed on a technical level? Yeah, we could absolutely do it. However, for people who have those suboptimal graphics, it's they're either not going to be able to play it or it's going to render really lowly. Now, for the in-game battle part, there are going to be some changes to it moving forward, but for the most part, it's set. But one of the things we do a little differently is it's not just about battling. For people who get into the game for like a community standpoint, for like the open world part for the side quests, we also incorporate that in there too. So it's not just about the battle part. Although I hear your criticism, you can see it's like, oh, it kind of looks a little bit boring. I think it's super fun, but I think like high level gamers may kind of like compare it to other high level games that they're playing and not find it as enjoyable. I don't know if that directly answers your question, but
Yeah,
that's
that
kind
does.
of
That
how
does. I appreciate
the
the
overall
answer.
thought
Actually,
there.
obviously, I'm still very excited. I'm still going to spend a lot of time playing the game. It was just something that I wanted to, just ask and see. But I appreciate the thorough answer. I mean, it seems like a pretty legitimate answer. Thank you, Matt.
Of course, yeah, and thank you for bringing it up because you're a high level gamer. You bring a very unique perspective into it, and that's why we engage with you guys. That's why we go on these AMAs and sometimes put ourselves pretty uncomfortably out there. But I appreciate that feedback. A lot of this feedback we take back to the developers and talk about in house and see if there's a way we can kind of split that difference. One of the things our developers are very big on. This is just an aside. You don't need to have great graphics to make a great game. They're like Super Mario Brothers, like Halo, even Super Smash Brothers is still appealing, but it's nothing compared to like what's out there for other games. So they really focus on the story type and stuff like that.
What a classic way, or what a classy way of answering a question and handling it in such class way. It's incredible to, and it's really actually important to have these talks and to not be working in an echo chamber. We as founders and builders must always have the pulse on the ground of what people are feeling and whether the criticisms are valid. And if enough people feel like that, then that means us as a founder needs to do a better job in either communication or product development or just letting people know what this is about and the reasoning why. And oftentimes it's really about a communication breakdown. The NFT itself is multi-chain, so it could be living on Solana, it could be living on Ethereum. Is that what it is, and is that how it works?
Yeah. All the NFTs start off chain on our marketplace, but when you want to be able to pull them on chain, you can do so to multiple chains. We're starting off with Ethereum now with the plan to add more, with the most popular and then going down the line.